Staying alive, staying alive. What's up, everybody? We're going to talk about staying alive today on today's podcast.
Hi, my name is Michael Johnson. I'm a ballroom dance professional, a life coach, and a peak performance expert. I'm part of a group of motivated people who are dedicated to attaining emotional mastery and unlocking our full potential. We've realized life is a dance. The ups and downs can spin you out of your mind, but it's time to take back control. It's time to become a lifer. We don't believe others are responsible for how we feel. In fact, we don't believe anyone can make us feel anything. We are a new breed of overachievers. Emotional mastery is our journey, and unlocking our full potential is the key. Welcome to the journey. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life.
What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm so glad you joined me today. And if you're watching on YouTube, if you're not, you missed a good show, right? I did the Staying Alive dance. You got to do the Staying Alive dance sometimes, right? The reason I wanted to talk to you about staying alive is because sometimes it feels like that's the mode we're in. I can see it from a mile away, really, and so can you. You've watched and you've noticed as people come through and enter your life or your world, you can tell the ones that are just staying alive. But for so many of us, that is still the truth, even though we've put on a good facade. So many times it's easy to just stay alive. And sometimes you're just thinking, gosh, I just have to make it through this. I just got to stay alive. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know, I've talked about the 6 human needs, and I've talked about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and what we need. And self-preservation is huge with what we need. And so I want to take that a step further, because in so many instances, we are just trying to stay alive. And we go through lots of phases in our world because we have to grow. And in order to grow, we have to be challenged, right? And this is simple. If you go to the gym and you want to get this muscle bigger, you get a weight and you put it through strain. You put it through some type of work and effort. And as you put that work and effort into it, the muscle grows. Now, I'm not a trainer or anything like that, but as I understand it, it kind of tears the muscles a little bit, and then it regrows, and then it tears them and they regrow, and it gets us stronger. So by putting stress onto the muscle, that's how we grow. And yet at times what happens is we get into life, and as stress is put upon us, some of you might have heard the podcast that I did about be careful what you pray for, right? Go back and look at it. I'm not sure what episode it was, but you know, unless you have been put through something that actually can make you grow, you don't grow. In fact, it works just the opposite. They've figured out now that if you put a cast on, and sometimes they have to because it's the only solution, but they try to avoid putting casts on because almost instantaneously atrophy happens. And when atrophy happens, the muscles start to shrivel and shrink and get lower, and getting back to speed and getting back to your normal is rough. But they say within about 20 minutes of that immobilization, atrophy starts to occur. Don't quote me on that. I don't know what the true facts are. If somebody knows it, feel free to put it in the comments below, because I don't really care. You can look at it on Google and find out the exact stats, but the point should be well taken. If we do not do something to get stronger, we will not get stronger. If we don't do something to grow, we have to put ourselves in a position where we must fail, because essentially not being able to lift that weight is kind of like failing, right? We're failing forward. We're doing something to get stronger. So I wanted to give you this idea. We oftentimes live in a self-preservation mode. And that's understandable, because there are times when we're having to grow, we're having to get stronger, and we're in self-preservation mode. There are also times that as we move forward out of that self-preservation mode, that we go into self-actualization. And self-actualization is all about understanding one's self, knowing how you work, understanding how you see the world, understanding your beliefs, learning how to do your emotions. This is huge. In that self-actualization mode, we are actually using metacognition, meaning we are getting outside of ourselves. And maybe sometime we'll talk about meta on the podcast. But metacognition, meaning we are looking about ourselves. We're looking about what we're thinking, that cognition, that ability to think about ourselves, but from outside of ourselves. And being able to get into that self-actualization, that's something that if you look all the way back to the beginning of time, I mean, even in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that was the top of his triangle, was self-actualization. Being able to observe yourself and be able to improve and grow and contribute from a place where you could actually get inside. And this is huge. This is part of understanding and learning and getting educated at your emotions. When you get educated emotionally, that will allow you to have emotional intelligence. That doesn't mean that you always make the best choice or always make the best decision. It just means that you're more intelligent about it. And you know exactly what I mean. Those of you that are great at math, I have a couple people that work with my kids on their math, and they have math intelligence. But in order to get to that math intelligence, they had to have a math intelligence from education, right? So they go education to intelligence, and that intelligence allows them to think about math. Now, what I didn't want to do is get somebody to help my children that just got it. That's not helpful, right? Those of you that just get math, good for you. I was not really ever one of them, but I know some. And what I needed was somebody that could help my children get good at math by getting educated so that they could be intelligent about it. You see, I can go figure anything out in math with a little help and some education. But being naturally intelligent, well, it really wasn't my skill. But like I said, I do know some people where they just don't know why they know it. They just get it. That's cool. There are people like that with everything. From there, being able to master that, you have to have that education, you have to have that intelligence, and you must then move it into mastery. And mastery, I think a lot of people think that you have arrived, and yet every master, quote unquote, that I've ever talked to, interviewed, if you're interested in some of the interviews, one of my passions is ballroom dance. I was a professional ballroom dancer, so I love to interview ballroom dancers about their mindset. I love to interview athletes and people that have been successful in business. These are great interviews to learn about their mindset, learn about how they got educated, learn about what it is that they're doing to be intelligent about what they do, and then being able to figure out how they are living in mastery. And most of them, okay, all of them say that they aren't masters. And if I say that outright, and I love to test it, but I usually go, so what makes you a master? How did you know you were a master at what you did? And they kind of look at me and go, well, I'm not. And yet they are miles ahead of others around them. And what we've learned along the way, and you can learn this through reading biographies and learning about each of these different people that had successful lives, is that they were on a journey, and mastery was the journey. Mastery was a definition that they hadn't arrived, but they had started. They realize where they're short. They work on the things that they want to get better at, and they learn to master what it is that they're doing. This is fabulous. So I wanted to take that to the next level. And that idea is self-translation. And that self-translation, right? If we use the word translation, I brought up a technical version of it, right? Oftentimes we use translation in terms of language, but translation being the second definition, if you look it up on Google, is the process of moving something from one place to another. From one place to another. So if we can have self-actualization through metacognition, and I know those are big words, but I tried to ease you into it, right? But if we can have self-actualization and we can attain that and get to that level, then we can actually have self-translation and start moving from one place to another, meaning we're on a journey. We are in mastery, or we might be ahead of somebody else that isn't there, but we are trying to move ourself from one place to another, get to a place where you can contribute, where you can grow and contribute and meet those human needs that are on the top of the pyramid, or at the top of the 6 human needs, so that we can actually start to do things to change the world, to live in a different space. Now, if we're talking about self-translation, one of the coolest things that we can do is get educated at emotion, because emotion is at the core of the things that we do. Why do you do anything? Why do you do anything at all? And I'm talking anything. Why did you sit down? Because you wanted to feel some way. Why did you make a face when I said something earlier? I can't see you, but I'm pretending I can see you, right? Why did you go? Why did you go? Why did you do those things? Because you felt something. Something happened, you gave it meaning, and you decided to do something about it. Let's take control of that. Let's learn how to take back control of our emotional states. And let's get educated on our emotions so that we can be emotionally intelligent, which doesn't mean that we are robots. It means that we have more intelligence on how to operate using this beautiful operating system that we have been given. And let's learn to use it better at a higher frequency and a better vibration with the world around us. And if we can do that, we can actually translate ourselves to a different space. And all of us have been in each one of those. That's the cool thing. We have all experienced those things. And maybe in your greatest moments, you have realized that translation. You see, some of my champions that have trained in ballroom dance have expressed to me a feeling when they have attained the highest level of their dancing, of being outside of themselves. They don't remember them. They remember what they were providing or giving to everybody else. And that's why contribution is so important. Because when you can get outside of yourself, when you can operate in that position where you are now translating, you're moving yourself from one space to the next, it's not about you, it's about something greater, grander than you. Then you all of a sudden realize that you are not the center of the universe. And when that happens, oh my gosh, beautiful things are created. When dancers get into that space, it is beautiful. You can tell they're not in their heads, they're not in their mind, they are not thinking about the next step or the technical skill of it. When you watch artists get into that mode and they start painting, drawing, and creating, they're in a different space. When you watch business people get into the space where they're doing the thing that they love and they're helping somebody else do that thing, they are beyond themselves. They have translated into a different space. This takes all of the above. We must learn to do and manage and control, execute our emotions. In order to have emotional education, we have to gather all the things that can educate us about those emotions. And as we do that, we'll gain a greater intelligence about those emotions. And with that, we can actually now start to be on this emotional mastery journey. And I'm excited for you guys to be here. I hope that this is making sense to you. I know I have some younger listeners. And for you younger listeners, rewind, go watch this again, go listen to it again. It's important because I know I use some big words, but just listen to it. Let it sink into your mind and let it take you to the next space, because honestly, we have to change you guys, the younger generation, the next generation, because in order for us as a race to take it to the next level, we all must go there together. So for all of you business people, I talk to you all the time, the entrepreneurs, the overachievers, the workaholics. I'm talking to you because I know you guys are the ones that are going to go out and help spread the idea and get it to come up from the younger generations. But in the meantime, let's teach our children to do their emotions, to get intelligent about doing their emotions so that they can start their emotional mastery journey earlier than we are. I hope this has impacted you today. I hope this maybe chime something good in your mind and in your soul. And if it did, hit the like button over there and subscribe, hit the notification button there, and let's share this with a bunch of people that you know would need to hear this today. Please let some people know. Let's start changing the world one emotion at a time. And I can't wait to see you on the next podcast. If you have any questions or if you have any comments, please put them in the comments below, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hey lifers, we expect upgrades to the base operating functions of the things like our phones, cars, and even refrigerators. Why then has it not been made a priority that we upgrade the operating systems of our emotional states? We dance around the subject of emotional mastery from a young age. We have so much more knowledge in today's world, yet we're still teaching outdated methods of emotional education, if any are being taught at all. It's time for a change. It's time for an upgrade to our emotional education. Let me help you learn how to do that. Pick up your free copy of Every Minute at everyminutebook.com.